Uber just finished their Q3 2023 earnings call. I listened to the entire 49 minutes. I'm just going to summarize it in just a few minutes for you in this video. But let me ask you, would you be surprised if the company said their earners, drivers, and couriers are earning more and more every single year, year after year, while subsequently they're paying them less and less? Yeah, let's go over this math in this video because CEO Dara Khosrowshahi said across most every single metric, revenue's going up, total bookings are going up, MAPC, their monthly active platform consumers, everything's going up here, and he was asked specifically about drivers and driver costs. So talking about lessening costs, Dara mentioned number one is adding new drivers to the platform. This is mobility with rideshare and Uber Eats and food delivery. So let me know down below in the comments, how do you feel your marketplace is right now with driver saturation? Because we never really know, do we, if it's like X one year and then plus 10% the other year and then plus 30% more drivers another year. Overall, Dara mentioned there's now 6.5 million earners. Again, they use earners as drivers and couriers on the platform. And that is a 30% year over year increase, as in this time versus this time last year. Now, what does that do? He said, because again, he was asked about cost savings, that decreases ETAs for riders in this case, which is a good thing for those riders. And maybe it would get you a ride faster if you're doing rideshare, but also that decreases the prevalence of surge pay. That is the per ride or the per delivery bonus incentive. Now, are you surprised? I was not surprised whatsoever, but it was very black and white. Like, hey, we need more drivers, couriers. It's going to reduce ETAs and it reduces, again, surge. They have mentioned this before. And in, I think, Q3 2022, their earning call, Dara started with saying, we're really comfortable with surge in the teens, like the prevalence of rides, like maybe like 13% of rides have surge, 14, etc. So a couple of questions later, Dara was asked again about driver supply, and get this, driver supply is actually outpacing total bookings. So because of that, in part, Dara mentioned they can really optimize on earner costs. But we got some actual numbers here. So globally, incentives are down 41% year over year, and they're down 50% here in the US. And anecdotally, I'll tell you this, I've been reporting on this, and if you haven't subscribed, this is all I do. I help you make money in these different side hustles. I have not seen surge pay on Uber Eats in probably a year and a half here in Pittsburgh. The demand is still there for rideshare. I just did a shift, and it's not just on that shift, but there's continually surge on rideshare, but Uber Eats has really dried up again, at least anecdotally. Now, following that up, not to really diminish their earners, Dara mentioned that earnings per utilized hour, he said, and that's a term that Uber uses, utilized hour. So what is that? I haven't seen anything. Is it like active time on DoorDash? So when you have an assignment to when you drop it off, but utilized hours is $33 per hour, which is really good. 33, and I think a lot of that is more so rideshare. What do you do better in, rideshare or food delivery? And then in New York City specifically, that's $50 per utilized hour. Now get this, when asked about opportunities and just 2024 in general, machine learning, AI, was mentioned at least 3 or 4 times during this call. And if you've been driving for Uber for some time, you're going to know this. And when I first started, October of 2015, this is how it was. Dara mentioned the previous way of pricing, which was simply pay for time and pay for miles. It was very simple. And actually the revenue split was a lot clearer and different than it is now. But Dara mentioned that anyone can price by time and miles, right? It's too easy, right? I know. So he cited the power of being able to price out trips and rides. And he cited their data sets, their machine learning, to give a more accurate payout for you based on that specific routes and available drivers. So what does that mean just in black and white for you? So, and this has been this way for a while, but years and years ago, it's not just cut and dry, time and miles, that there is an algorithm. And the way I read this is, if an algorithm is going to determine the price based on the actual route, how desirable that route is, the drivers nearby, how busy is it, etc., that it can try to price lower. Maybe, here's an example, if it knows there's 3 drivers around that have a, 70% acceptance rate from someone, another driver over here has 85% acceptance rate, this person accepts 90%, then maybe, this is just my own thoughts, let me know if you think this is how it's going to be. The algorithm knows, hey, we have more drivers that typically accept more rides, no matter really what we send them. So possibly we can price out this trip lower. Interestingly, when it comes to machine learning, Dara actually mentioned to save costs if their algorithm is trying to onboard a driver. Okay, let's say you're signing up right now for Uber or Uber Eats. And if their AI determines that if they run a background check on you signing up and they deem most likely for whatever reason you're not going to pass that background check, that Dara said they might just delay running that background check because that costs them money just to do that. And that makes me think, if they're delaying background checks because they feel like you're not going to pass anyway, I don't know how they're doing that, but if they feel like you're not going to pass, then are they going to go the way of GoShare and I think Dispatch that have you pay for background checks, especially as now they have more earners than ever, 6.5 million. Something that was surprisingly not really mentioned, and DoorDash continues to cover this more heavily in their earnings calls, are new verticals, specifically with grocery and convenience. I don't recall it ever being mentioned in this 49-minute call. It was really, hey, we're growing over all of these categories. That's great. Here's our controllables for cost. Here's how we're going to continue to operate lean. Look at what's good, applicable investments, but not really any talks about grocery or convenience. So here's what I would do on your next shift. It doesn't matter if it's Uber or Uber Eats. It is something that I've been tracking. I'm telling you, for the past 3 quarters, I've been seeing this happen. It is that continued reduction in surge. Unfortunately, it's not where I want it to go. It's not where you want it to go. Best case, it's a tapering. So it's like used to be $3. Now it's like $2.50. It's $2.50 for 3 months. So it takes a while to really see it disappear. But I'll tell you something similar after this call, which is very similar to what I said after the DoorDash Q3 call. Is this alarming? Is this emergency SOS flags for gig workers? No. It is a business that's just literally last quarter or something, turned their first profit. And they're trying to operate leanly, but I'm just giving you both sides here. I want you to make as much money as possible. You need to have all your options open. If Uber's your same thing, you got a multi-app with Lyft in that case, or Grubhub and DoorDash. Now, if you're driving more hours, especially full-time, I'll tell you this, and this is basically the same thing I've been saying since 2017 when I started here on YouTube, that these apps are most likely best as a side hustle. If you're doing it full-time, it's going to be more volatile. You know that. And I would have some kind of other earnings plan. But based on, let's say, DoorDash's stats, 80% of their workers have another full-time income. So for those workers, if you're doing this as a side hustle, it's fine because most likely this isn't your full-time thing. So I just don't want you to waste your time. If you start to see one app slow down again, pick up another app. Just sign up. It's free. Just sign up now. Might as well. So you have that option if and when some of this stuff changes.